cool.
And he's almost 70 and he's still go-kart
That's
racing.
amazing.
It kind of runs in the family a bit, the racing blood.
Beautiful. And your brother as well.
And my brother, yeah, has been doing it. And I was his co-driver. We did some rally
That's
races.
super cool.
Yeah, and it was intense. It was a lot of fun.
You never got into it?
Well, I mean, I just had other priorities. It's very expensive, motorsports.
Yeah.
So you've got to really love it for it to be worth it. And for me, I enjoy more snowboarding and surfing, and they're a lot cheaper. So I may as well spend my time doing them.
Yeah, it's a completely different sport, and I think the psychology behind it is like also different. As you were saying, like the same race can be done with a like very quiet mindset and with like a very agitated, like nervous. I don't know. I think there's a lot of psychology behind. Like, have you ever watched videos of like cameras on drivers and like looking at their face and like there's no emotions most of the time. Like they're going like 400 kilometers per hour and like emotionless. What do you think?
It's crazy. I mean, they're just totally in the zone, aren't they? You know, in that flow state, and there's no space, you know, to react to anything in that flow state. You're just responding to what you see in that moment.
How did you feel like sitting next to the driver in the rally?
Well, as the co-driver, as the navigator, you've got a lot of responsibilities in yourself. You've got to try and keep up with the turns and the distances, and they don't always add up. So you're doing all this math trying to figure out where you are and what's going on. So you're so caught up in that and wanting to give the best directions that you can that you completely lose track of the fact that you're, you know, going around these dirt roads, drifting around corners at 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, that's insane. How did you transition? Like, how did you go from that to purpose coaching? And what's purpose coaching? Like what does it mean exactly?
Yeah, sure. Well, purpose coaching it's basically about helping people to find purpose and direction in their lives. And I think that, like most coaches, you sort of, the problems that you deal with, cheers, and figure out strategies to overcome with are the sorts of things that, and you want to help people overcome those things as well. And a lot of people in life, they seem to just come straight out of school and they know exactly what they want to do and just fall into a career, and for them that's great.
And does that comes from the family, or like they've been thinking about it?
Well, who knows? You know, I'm not one of these people, so I don't know how it works. But a lot of people, you know, they just know exactly what they're going to do from a young age, and then they just leave school and they just go down that path, and it's very easy for them. But for a lot of other people in life, it's not so easy finding that path, that direction in their lives. And, you know, they try lots of things. Maybe it doesn't work out for them and they can't find that fit, you know, that direction to take their life in.
Yeah.
And it can cause a lot of, you know, anguish and pain and confusion when you see everyone else around you who's, you know, living their life and on that path and, you know, progressing their careers, and you're still trying to figure that out. So it actually can be a huge mental struggle for people who can't find their way. So, and that was definitely my experience with it. And so,
how many changes did you go through?
So many. Like, I've done so many jobs, been fired from so many jobs, like you would not believe. You know, and the broad spectrum of everything. I've done everything from corporate world, sales, recruitment, to laboring. I was working in the tunnels, building the WestConnex project in Sydney. You know, so you're underground for 12 hours straight, you know, from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m., working through the night, living nocturnally. You know, I've done that, and landscaping and all different kinds of things, and just never found the right match for me. And eventually I realized that entrepreneurial route was my route, and then finally I found my way into coaching. And now that I'm on that path and I'm doing that and I'm working with clients and seeing the changes that I'm making in my life, now it's all worth it. You know, it all guided me there, and all that time that I was learning and trying different paths and it wasn't working out for me. Now all of the things I had to go through with those situations are all my fuel, and the lessons that I learned there, I'm teaching other people. And yeah, and there's, you know, there's a process to it, but yeah, it's basically just about helping people to get in the right mindset to find their purpose, because that's the big thing. I call them like distortions of self. So you have these distortions, which is like the ego is a big one, or you have, you know, like.
How does the ego distort the self?
Well, it's the part of you that, you know, wants to, you know, show off in front of everyone, and maybe it's the part of you that wants to be all rich and successful, and because you think that you're going to get that's going to make you happy, getting all of that respect from other people. And
it drives you away from your actual goal or purpose.
Yeah, and it leads you down to these like false horizons that people go down. And so then basically, it's about priming the mind in order to kind of diffuse all those sorts of distortions of the self, you know, realize that everything is in your power, and then to just calm the mind, and then get in tune with what the world's really telling you. Because if you learn to read the signs and listen to the signs, you can figure out, you know, what's going to be the right match for you. But sometimes people need some help with that. So I've now helped people to read those signs, figure out what it is, and then get them started on moving down that path.
I find this interesting because, as you said, you went yourself through like a path of like changes, and I think people that jump from like school or university straight into a job without giving much time to think about what they really want, could it be that they are the ones who actually most need advice, because like they didn't think through like what they want to do, and they just went for it, and sometimes they find themselves stuck in a job that it's not their it doesn't match with their life. Like they're not happy, they're unsatisfied. Whether people with more experience and people who are confused, they ask questions, they try things, and in the end they find whatever works better for them, which is your case, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, and I definitely look to cater to those people as well. You know, essentially, those are the other people who are unsatisfied, you know, in their current position, and in fact, a lot of people who are very high achievers in life, who, you know, go after their goals and they get them, and this goes for a lot of people in society, is after they hit that goal, that achievement that they were chasing, and they thought that this thing that they're building towards was going to make them fill them up inside, make them whole and make them feel amazing, and then they get that goal, feels good for 5 minutes, and then it's like, what next? And people just keep going through and chasing, so then they just set a bigger goal, and some people never really break out of that paradigm, and they just keep chasing.
Have you ever seen that episode? Like, I think it was Family Guy. There is an episode of when the Willy Coyote catches the what's it called, the ostrich, like the roadrunner. And then he gets depressed because like he loses purpose in his life. Like he's been chasing the roadrunner for so long that like, he got it. Like he cooks him, and then like and he gets depressed. I think that's a metaphor of what you were saying.
Definitely, and I haven't seen that, but it sounds hilarious. And it's totally true, man. I mean, and that's a big part of what I teach, is that if what you're doing is trying to chase fulfillment, trying to fulfill yourself, then you're always going to look in the wrong places in terms of where you should take your life. But it's about realizing that everything that you need, all the love that you need, all the respect, all the self-worth that you need, only you can give it to yourself. And, you know, whether, you know, a lot of people look for relationships to find love, you know, or you know, look to their career to find that fulfillment, but only you can give it to yourself. And once you come to that realization, then now you're in a good mental position to make a decision with what you want to make your life about. And you know, life really, I see it as it's a blank canvas. You know, you don't need to do anything, but you know.
I love the point of view, and I like that you brought up love. Like, I guess my question is, what do you think are the priorities that we should try to, like, when you coach people, like, if they are not supposed to look for fulfillment into like money or in other values that might just be distracting them, where they should like steer towards, like what are the values that people should try to aim for, and love I guess is one of those, but what else?
I think at the end of the day, it's whatever's true for that person. You know, whatever the values are that they hold dearest in the world, then you know I think you should try to spread that in the world. And I mean, not everyone's purpose has to be an altruistic goal,
Okay.
but generally altruistic goals work better for a purpose because you're creating a reason, you know, that's bigger than yourself. And although most of us, you know, if you were to look at society, you know, as an alien, you came down to Earth for the first time, you would assume that human beings are very selfish people, judging by the way society's put together. But really, on a core level, most people actually aren't. They're actually very selfless. And I mean, we get caught up in the competitive game of life, but at the end of the day, if you look at what would really make you happy in life, it's most likely going to be selfless things.
Absolutely.
And if you look at people, you know, rich and famous people who get to the top of their fields and, you know, have all these great achievements, a lot of them, what do they want to do? Then they just want to find ways to give back to people, because that's the way they can feel good now, you know, is by sharing that back to them.
And some people might argue that that's another way to be selfish. There is a theory that says, like, if I give back, or I'm just being altruistic, and that makes me feel better, then my altruism is actually guided by the fact that gives me like a positive feedback. So I'm actually doing it for myself to feel better. So if I help you, I'm doing it so I could feel better. Isn't that still like being selfish?
That's a good point. But first of all, even if it is, well, put it this way, like ego is very clever and very sneaky, and it's almost impossible to get rid of it.
Yes.
But what you can do with your ego is you can get it attached to something that's going to benefit you. So if you get your ego wrapped up in being the best human being and giving back and spreading love in the world and making the world a better place, and you get your ego wrapped up in that, because now
it becomes an asset.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, unless you're going to go be a Buddhist monk and meditate for the rest of your life, your ego's pretty much always going to find a way to sneak back in, I reckon. And so you may as well put it to work on something productive.
Do you think that meditation helps in personal development?
100%.
Do you meditate?
Yeah. Yeah, every day. Yeah.
How does that affect your daily routine? What benefit do you get from meditation?
It's just keeping control of your mind. That's what it is. And I noticed that.
What happens when it goes out of control?
Well, me personally or in general?
Both.
When it goes out of control, then you just get caught up responding to your emotions, you know.
Okay.
So then emotions come up in you, and then you maybe go back to responding in, you know, your old habits of, you know, destructive patterns. You know, you feel bad, so maybe you withdraw from the world or something like that. Whereas when, you know, you're meditating regularly and you've got control over that, then you can make the choice. You can feel that emotion come up, but because you've trained that control over your mind, that emotion comes up and you realize that it's a choice. And now you could choose to go, you know, revert to some addiction or something like that. But instead, now you're in a position where you can choose and be like, you know what, I'm feeling a bit bad, but I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to clear my head.
I think most people are I'm talking by myself as well, like prey to our own emotions, and we let emotions guide our actions, and most of the times that's not it doesn't feel right. What would be a trick to avoid that besides meditation? Because meditation is a very powerful way to take control over our mind, but I feel that it's not enough sometimes. What do you think? How can we boost meditation?
Well, I'm no expert, and I would love to go on some meditation retreat.
That'd be cool. Have you ever been to any?
I haven't, no. I just learnt off just, YouTube videos and Headspace app,
So what's part of your process? Besides like working on the ego, what is part of your coaching process in order to help people?
What?
Like how does it work? Let's say we want to do like a session. Like how would you help me? What's the flow of your job?
Well, in general, what are the program that I'm about to launch at the moment is an 8-week program.
Oh, that's cool. And so it's not just like one session, an hour, 2 hours. It's just like a whole process.
I do that. I do that to give people a taste, and just to generally help people, anyone, no matter. I offer free calls to anyone, but more important, and sure, maybe they'll get some value out of that. But
you if you want, you can share your TikTok and Facebook and Instagram account with our listeners. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can find you and you can get new clients. Actually, if you want to share also the live stream that we're on.
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, just go for it.
So my TikTok is just at Boundless Bruce.
Boundless Bruce. I like the name.
Yeah. Thank you. And pardon me, and the Facebook is also, Facebook / Boundless Bruce.
Okay, cool.
And you can find me there.
And you're on Instagram as well, but not for... your coaching profile is on Instagram as well?
It is, yeah. It's Boundless _ Bruce.
Okay,
Cool.
Do we have any questions in the meantime?
Is this? I can't see it. Is this the right page?
Yes. Should be here.
Maybe I should just go to YouTube.
Yeah. Should be here. Oh, here.
We have a comment though.
Yes.
From Danielle from Italy, I think.
Okay.
She's congratulating you on the program.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yes, I think they're going through lockdown currently. So she opened a swimming club, but she has to shut it for a while, for 5 months.
Okay.
Which is a very tough situation.
That's tough. What would be your advice to someone who has just started a business and because of COVID or any other problem out of their control, they have to shut down? Like they've been putting hours and they've been like working hard to build something and then they just like cannot do it.
1 second.
Sure thing.
Okay, done. Tips for people starting
a business in a tough time when they cannot actually go for it.
Well, I think COVID has been the perfect time to launch businesses because, you can't go out and about. It's just a forced period you got to stay home, and you can use that time to watch Netflix or you can use that time to work on something.
Oh, so preparation, like doing all the work that comes before the launch.
True. Okay, yeah. I was thinking of online businesses because that's the way I think. But
what is Danielle starting? Like a swimming club? What was it?
Yes, swimming club, and it's like a professional swimming facility.
Okay.
And training program. I think that's what she means.
Okay. My advice is just do everything that you can. Try not to think about COVID as much as possible, and just do everything you can to put it in place, and try to not let anything stop you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what the restrictions are in her country or anything, but
I guess in Italy it's like full lockdown. I'm not sure because like here I don't even like notice that we're like undergoing like a major crisis worldwide, but like it's normal life in Australia. But in Italy, like it's a total in Europe, in America, it's like a nightmare from what I hear. I don't know how I would cope with it.
Me neither. Yeah, the whole COVID thing is it's just it's crazy, you know. I mean, I personally think it's kind of ridiculous putting the whole world on hold, you know, almost indefinitely.
Yes.
You know? And it's rough. And so for people like Danielle, you know, just do everything that you can, and if you can find ways to work around and whatever, you know, then do it, because, you know, you can't just stop life, you know, and you gotta get creative, you know, and I've seen some really cool examples of people getting creative of working around, you know, COVID rules and that sort of a thing. So just think outside the box, Danielle.
Yes, the struggle makes you activate your problem solving skills, and brings up the like I think if you're at ease, like if everything is fine and given to you, you don't even put any effort in what you're doing and you just take everything for granted. But when there are problems, that's where like the people that are more ingenious, they can actually show that like they have what it takes to keep going. And also like it's a motivational thing, I think. How does motivation play the role in your strategy?
Motivation it's fleeting, you know, and you can't rely on being motivated to do to do what you got to do.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, if you're gonna wait around for motivation all the time, then you're setting up a perfect scenario for you to not get anything done.
I know exactly what you mean. I do the same thing with inspiration. Like when I write whatever films or whatever I'm writing, I always make up excuses around like I need inspiration, and if it just doesn't come, I'm like, okay, I'm not inspired, I'm not gonna do it. And I think it's the same with motivation.
Definitely. And I'm someone who's come from being, you know, one of the laziest people ever, you know, and so I've had to figure out ways, you know, to get it done. And honestly, that's why I believe in this purpose coaching so much, because it's when you're on purpose, you know, when you're living a life with purpose, you just identify with, this is what I do, you know. And for me personally, this is just what I do. I help people now to find their purpose, and you know, that's bigger than me. So even when I wake up in the morning some days and I just don't feel like getting out of bed and super unmotivated, it's when you've got that reason to do what you want to do, it just doesn't matter anymore. You're like, oh well, I'm gonna show up the best I can, and I'm gonna have a coffee or two, maybe I need two today, or whatever it is, and you just gotta keep moving forward, and that's it. You can't wait for the motivation.
I think having a goal plays a major role if you actually care about the goal. Because if your goal is to like sell more cars, but you don't actually care about like, you know, the goals of the month as a car salesman, it doesn't really motivate you. But if it's something that you deeply care for, like if you have an emotional connection with what you do, in in your case, then it gives you what you need to keep carrying on. How does the 8 weeks program? Walk me through that.
Okay, sure. So it starts off, so week 1 is focused around introduction to purpose, explaining, you know, what it is, and then I do like a guided meditation on what it feels like to be in purpose, because it's a hard thing to explain with words, you know, what purpose is and why it's important, but understanding the feeling of what it feels like to be on your purpose is huge. And then I talk about you know, what their goals are, and that sort of thing, and start, and it's all about planning where you want to be, let's say 10 years from now, and then from there you can start to figure out, you know, what are the actions that you need to be taking now in order to get there. And basically, it's all about, for me, it's all about planting seeds. So I don't want them to decide on what their purpose is on week 1. That doesn't come till week 4. So I'm just priming them, and I'm priming their subconscious. I'm asking them lots of questions that people don't ask them. Like, where do you want to be in 10 years? What are your biggest blocks? And
so long term.
Yeah,
long-term planning, like 10 years.
That's it, yeah. And it's crazy, you know. Last week, you know, I spoke to 3 different clients, and I asked them that same question of where do you want to be in 10 years? And all 3 of them had no idea, had never thought about that ever, where they want to be in 10 years. And I couldn't believe that. And I guess, I mean, I used to not think that far ahead either. But as now, when I do, and you know exactly where you want to be in 10 years, it makes it a lot easier to know what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis, because you've got that overarching plan, and you know it's not going to get any closer unless you take a step towards it.
How do you deal with people who have unachievable plans or dreams? Like somebody tells you like, oh, in 10 years I want to be like an astronaut and I want to be on Mars.
That's a tough one. I mean, what I try to do in that situation is I try to get them to be realistic about what it's going to take to achieve that goal. And I don't want to poo-poo anyone's dreams. You know, I think it's great to aim high, you know, because why not?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Why
yeah.
not? So I don't want to, you know, say it's not possible, but I want them to be realistic about what it's actually going to take to achieve that goal, and be clear about what they need to be doing on a day-to-day basis in order to get there, and then weigh up, is that actually something that you're willing to do? And, you know, and get them to sit with that and think and feel about that, if they're willing to go and do all that work. And if they're honest with themselves in some situations, then they might realize that, okay, maybe I'm not willing to do what it's going to take to do that. And then you start to dissolve that, you know. And
they reevaluate and come up with a different life plan?
Well, exactly. And then, but if they wanted to go to, let's say it was Mars, you know, then maybe that's just...
aim for the moon first, and then...
aim for the moon, yeah, right? And often people create these goals out of their passions, which is a good thing. But maybe that just means that they love, you know, space and stuff, and maybe there's like a local space club that they can get involved in. So I would recommend them to tap into, because they're longing for something in that area, right? So I would say have that as a hobby, you know, and if you're not willing to go and do the astrophysics degree and this, that, and the other that it would take to be an astronaut, you know, and go and then, but fulfill that part of yourself, that wanting in a hobby, and then maybe decide on a backup dream.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
People with
like unachievable dreams.
Well, at the moment I'm working with 3 clients, and I would say 1 out of 3 has an unachievable goal. So, you know, it's...
What is your goal? Like,
sorry, Pablo.
How do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years? Okay. In 10 years from now, I would like to own a house somewhere nice, maybe...
In Australia?
Who knows?
Okay.
I don't know. I definitely haven't decided on that. I want to travel the world more first till I find somewhere that really feels like home.
Okay. So you don't feel home in Australia, or you want to find a place that feels more home than Australia?
I still want to see more, you know. I
totally get it.
And maybe my travels will bring me back to appreciate that home is right here in Sydney, but I'm not sure yet.
You were born here?
I was, yeah.
Cool. Where have you been?
I've been to a lot of places around Europe.
Okay.
Done some backpacking trips around there, and spent some time in your hometown
Cool,
in Italy.
Cool.
Did a season snowboarding there, and so, and then quite a few places around Europe, the usual sort of touristy spots around there, and and I've also been to America a few times with my dad when I was younger.
Do you like America? Which part of America?
I only went when I was a kid, so
Okay.
it's a totally different experience when you go as a kid as opposed to an adult. I went
Guess
to
so,
like
yeah.
Disneyland and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
What's your favorite place in the world so far?
it's hard to say. I mean,
Say Italy.
there's lots of different
No,
places.
it's not for me.
It's like different places for different reasons. So, you know, for like, let's say,
I like that answer already.
like Barcelona, for example, I just have such great memories there because just the electricity of the city, just the party vibes non-stop
Yeah.
is just ridiculous. I had the craziest time in Barcelona. And, you know, whereas Greece is just so beautiful and just so different to anywhere I've been, you know, had great times there as well. And Croatia, again, like had amazing experiences, and they've got such cool waterfalls there. I don't think I could pick, you know. I see myself always, you know, traveling, to be honest, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I got into coaching, because I want to be able to have the freedom to just jet off somewhere whenever I feel like it.
That's cool because you can do your job from wherever. Basically, do you see yourself like as a digital nomad, constantly moving and working online?
I would say so, but I think that there's definitely a lot of value in routine as well. So
Can you have a routine while moving?
yeah, totally. I think you can. Yeah, if as long as you can control your situation, sort of thing. So let's say, for example, if you were living in a van
Yes.
and you were traveling around, of course you can do your daily routine because you're in control. But there are certain things that will be out of your control, and there will be certain things in your life, you know, when you're living in a van, which will be difficult. Like you've got to find a nice place to live, and then that throws in all these extra factors into your day. So there's like the pros of the freedom, but there's also, you know, the cons of it. Creates extra work for yourself. But in general, yeah, I see myself sort of living in a place, you know, for a few months or something, and then moving somewhere else. And so I basically just want to hunker down, you know, until the borders open, and just build up my client base, and then
That's
head
cool.
off traveling once.
That's how I lived my life for the past 13 or 14 years. I kept changing country every year until I came to Australia, and then for reason that I still don't quite understand, I decided to stay. And then COVID happened and I had to stay, but yeah, I had already decided to stay. And I think that is a lifestyle that I would want to go back to eventually. But now that I'm more like permanent somewhere, I'm realizing all the things that I've been missing out on while on the move. Like, it's super easy to make strong friendship and strong connections when you share experiences. So even while traveling, you can connect with people at a deeper level because you share like experiences that are much deeper, but they don't last as long because you don't have a circle of friends that you keep meeting. And so there are things, and relationships is another problem. Like, how do you deal with relationships when you're moving all the time? Like you say traveling every 3 months. I was traveling I was moving every year, and still I think it works. But how do you cope with like the pros and the cons of a nomadic lifestyle?
Well, besides you're asking someone who's not living it yet, you know. So
But you've done your share of traveling.
yeah, definitely. But you know, it's a little bit different to working and traveling around. So I don't want to pretend. At the end of the day, I'm always someone, I'm just going to follow, you know, my desires. And so maybe I'll find it is hard to move around so much, or maybe I won't.
Adapt.
But definitely, to kind of like fill in the pieces of what you're saying, is that I definitely imagine myself traveling around like with a travel buddy, with a girlfriend or something. I am single, ladies. So if you're looking to live a nomadic lifestyle, maybe you have your own online business or something like that, I'd definitely love a travel buddy for when the borders open.
We should turn this show into a dating show. I mean, I tried the strategy; it didn't quite work.
Really?
Yeah. No, but I mean,
what about Danielle? Have we got pictures of Danielle?
I think in my case, the problem was I've been into relationships that I thought that was the solution, and that works for a lot of people. I know couples that like move together and they have mutual goals, but that's the problem. If you have goals that diverge, then you have a problem. Like, because everyone is going to pursue their goal and you're not going to travel together. And I don't believe that the solution is one should follow the other, but it should be like parallel paths. But that's not always easy to achieve. How does relationships, how do they affect one's life goals?
I think it's important to. That's not something I've put a lot of thought into. But
let's say a client comes to you and asks you like, "Oh, I really want to do this thing, and it's an achievable dream. Like, I don't know, I want to own a shoes store or whatever. But my wife really doesn't want me to quit my job as an employee at like the post office or whatever."
Well, it's all about, communication, isn't it? And yeah, weighing that out and talking it through and yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be a good relationship where there's resentment, where you're wanting something and let's say, they're forbidding it, and you need to be able to communicate that across and make them believe in you. And it is important, that they understand why, that this is the right move for you, and there should be a discussion that you should have together. But if there isn't that level of discussion and communication anyway, then it's, what sort of a relationship is it?
Yes, because ideally you want your partner to be happy. So
exactly.
Yeah, communication is the key of everything, I believe.
And if anyone is feeling like, like scared to broach something or worried about like how they're gonna like, tell their girlfriend or partner or whatever it is, then you need to question, what are the dynamics going on in this relationship, and is it healthy?
Yes. It's not easy to do, like, because we have like main different priorities in life, and one is relationships, but one is like fulfillment, and one is like feeling it. I think these like are three things that people care most, like relationships, fulfillment, and the feeling of like inner peace. Like, some people are troubled, like they're unhappy but they don't know why, and generally that can happen even though like you're rich, you have a family that loves you, but still they don't feel happy. And these three factors combined, like when you nail all of them, it's just like, okay, everything works, but it's like crazy hard to achieve.
Definitely.
That's not a question, I know.
Yeah. I mean that's life, isn't it? There's all these different balls: career, love, relationships, health and fitness. We got all these different balls, and we're trying to juggle them, and that's just the game of life.
How do you juggle with snowboarding, and why is that not your career?
Well, I started snowboarding too late to make a career out of it. That's for
Do you have
sure.
any videos of yourself snowboarding online?
I've got a few little clips and stuff, but not all that much really.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I feel like if I had my time again, you know, and I could start snowboarding from a kid, I would have a chance, you know, at being, you know, a free ride, you know, maybe on the free ride world tour.
What's the free ride world tour? I don't know much about snowboarding.
It's basically, so free riding snowboarding is just like riding in the backcountry out in the
cool.
POW, and yeah, and that's kind of, you know, and I don't have that much experience snowboarding, but comparatively, I've been picking that up, you know, very well, and I just love it, you know, and so yeah, just shredding POW in the backcountry, finding rock drops to jump off and that sort of thing, and yeah, and I absolutely love it, but you know, unfortunately, you know, when you start snowboarding at the age of 24, you know, it's like you know, you're never going to catch up, you know, to those people who've been doing it since they were a kid, and plus, you know,
What made you fall in love with snowboarding?
riding powder is what did it, and it was in Italy that I had my first experience of like proper powder.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was when, so I'd only done like a few weeks here and there in Australia and New Zealand, and then I bought all my gear and went over to do a season in Italy, and yeah, and then we finally got snow, and you got that fresh powder, and you're just floating on top of it, and it's like you're floating on top of a cloud, and it's just no better feeling. You're just floating on top of a cloud, and you can go as fast as you want because it's perfectly flat. There's no bumps to worry about, so you can just go as fast as you want, and you go off any jump or anything, and it doesn't hurt if you fall because it's, you know, you've got this cushion of this cloud cushion, you know, to fall. So if you fall over, you just roll a few times and then you hop back up again, and then it's just beautiful as hell. You're just looking out at this mountain, the white snow, pristine, nothing built, you know, except a couple of chairlifts. But other than that, it's just pristine. But when you get into the backcountry, you get away from that altogether.
That's
Just pure
amazing.
silence, just beauty and adrenaline, like all in one.
Is the connection with nature, does it play a role in in your experience in snowboarding?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I think there's something really, and surfers experience the same thing. There's something really beautiful and like poetic about harnessing nature for your own fun, you know, with just a little plank of wood under your feet, you know. So just like surfing, you're turning.
Because one would assume, like, you're Australian, you must love surfing. Like, are you a surfer?
Yeah.
Okay, you started surfing much earlier than.
Not really. I started that late as well, and I'm a pretty hopeless surfer, to be honest. So.
Is it? Are those transferable skills like snowboarding and surfing? Like, is it similar somehow?
I would say like any board sport is going to be transferable for sure. You know, because it's just about having that balance of riding on a board sideways, and you're going to build up that muscle memory of controlling, you know, your balance whilst on that sideways angle.
Who's your favorite snowboarder?
It's got to be Travis Rice.
Can we pull up some Travis Rice videos?
Sure.
Yeah. This man is crazy.
Where is he from?
He's from Jackson Hole. That's his local mountain, which is.
Have you ever watched a movie called Out Cold?
No.
You need to watch it. It's super cool. It's very stupid. It's a comedy, and I love it. It's about snowboarding.
What's this reset on? I'll tell you, if you type in fourth phase. Oh well, I mean that's pretty. If you type in fourth phase highlights, that'll probably give you some fourth phase. Yep. And then yeah, action cut, perfect. You'll see some crazy stuff.
What can you do? Like, tell me, like, oh, I can do that.
Look at that. It's ridiculous.
All of these techniques, like jumps and spins, do they have names?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So what's this?
I lost count of how many times he spun, but that looked like a 900 or something.
How long does it take
Look at
to
that.
wow?
Oh, that's insane.
How long does it take to master this level of like skills?
It's hard to say. I would say, well, to think about one way, I would say like snowboarders probably peak
Wow.
at the age of, say, like depending on what it is, but backcountry snowboarders tend to like really hit their stride maybe in their like the late 20s, you know, to early 30s, which means, and these people would have been snowboarding since they were, you know, 10 years old, let's say.
Yeah.
Which means, so that's 20 years. Yeah. But for more like the slope style and the Olympic competitions, like the half pipe and stuff, they seem to like hit their peak, you know, more in their mid 20s. So then that's like 15, you know, years or something like that.
That's
Yeah.
that's a lot of time. To
And
play.
I think these guys would be spending, you know, at least half their year snowboarding, sort of thing, potentially more. Once they go pro, then they're just going to start
They keep
chasing
the winter. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
We
Kenny?
have a not question but comment.
Yes.
So Marco Lipini.
Hello, Marco.
So he's saying how powerful morning meditation is, and you know, starting the day with nice morning meditation. And yeah, also he's saying he's in Tuscany right now, and
Oh.
they have a curfew, and
nice.
everything closes at 10 p.m. You're not allowed to go out after this.
Oh wow, you're not allowed to go out of your house
I
after 10 p.m.
I think so. Yes, he says curfew.
That's rough. That's intense.
Yeah, I feel for you, Marco. That's we never had it that bad here in Australia. And,
No.
even just we had it where you could only go outside to exercise
Yes.
or go to the shops, and even that was tough. You know, that messed
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my
yeah.
mind a lot.
I remember it only lasted like a couple of weeks. Maybe a month, but
Yeah,
not
it was
more.
it was a few weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to go out and do stuff anyway, because as you know, like I want to be a digital nomad. Like freedom is the most important thing to me, and just that feeling of sitting around at home,
No, it was
I couldn't do it. So I had to like find, you know, sneaky places where I could go for a swim in the ocean and stuff.
but that was still allowed because it's exercising.
Well, yeah. Like so you can justify it, but I was like, there's no way I can sit here and just live in this state of fear, you know, of fear of getting in trouble if I go outside. I had to prove to myself that, you know, I'm still free.
Yes. I started running, going on night runs
Mm.
around like midnight, 1 a.m. I just went for a run. What was the question again? How does morning meditation affect your daily routine?
Oh, I think he wasn't questioning. He was just saying that's what he does. And
Saying how powerful it is, and that's what he does. And he.
Oh, I
you
see.
know, I think he plays guitars and goes hiking just to clear his mind.
That's
Love it.
good. That's good. What's your relationship with the cold? Comes to mind, like talking about snowboarding again, and like in general, like winter sports. Does the cold play a role in how you enjoy the experience? Like, does it make it better or worse, or?
Well, I don't know if many people feel this, but I know I do. And there's something really amazing about living in somewhere where it's really cold, because I think your body naturally starts to burn all this extra fat in order to keep yourself warm.
That's cool.
And
yes.
and I think that makes you feel amazing, you know, when you're living in cold places. There's something, because it's so fresh. You go outside and it's just so in your face, the cold, and your body responds to that by increasing your blood flow and everything, and it makes you feel amazing. So
Yeah.
I actually love it. And when I was in Wanaka for a season, and we all went, when it was snowing one day, we all went swimming in the lake, which was probably like a few degrees.
That's
you know?
amazing.
And there's just something about it that just like jumping into that cold water, it just makes you feel so alive. And the cold in general just makes you feel so alive if you just go at it and embrace it anyway. And I think there's something, really, really awesome about it.
I love that. I spent a lot of time in Iceland, and I was chasing like natural hot pools. But the cool thing was after you stay in the hot pool, just jump into the freezing cold river next to it. And generally, I didn't know that running water can go below zero because it's running, so it doesn't freeze. So it can get
really?
it can get down to like -2, -3, and it's still flowing. So you go from like 35 degrees water to -2, and then back into, and that sensation of like the cold makes you your skin. You just feel like energized right away, but it's not unpleasant.
Yeah.
And most people actually don't. What do you think about Wim Hof? You know you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does, and he has the breathing exercise and
Yes.
stuff. Oh, that stuff's great for sure. And ideally, you should be cultivating that, into your life as much as you can. And
Do you take cold showers?
Yeah.
I can't. What's your advice? I wanna get into that habit, and so many people told me that it's actually a very good thing to do. Even Blanca, the last guest we had,
Yeah.
she told me that she does that, and she has this habit of doing like, if not an whole cold shower, at least like the last part of a shower should be like I don't know, a couple of minutes of like cold shower, a minute of cold shower. I don't know. I just don't like that.
I get it, and I've thought about this a lot, and I think that having cold showers most people just do it for like the sort of health benefits, but I think there's a lot of psychological benefits to it because it's about surrendering to like attachments that you have. And I think the main reason why people don't want to have a cold shower is because you've had thousands and thousands of times in the shower and it's always been hot and it feels nice, it's hot, and that's what you're used to. And your brain is used to like when water comes out of the shower, it should be hot and it feels good. But when you turn it to cold and it's cold, it's not fulfilling your expectation.
Interesting.
And so then, and that's why you're so averse to it, because it's not your experience, and you're attached to the fact that it should be warm. But after a while and you relax, maybe it takes like 10-15 seconds, you take some deep breaths, and all of a sudden it starts to feel amazing, and you're like, oh, this is great, and you feel really energized. And
I know that it's getting there, the problem.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's just understanding that it's just an attachment, that you have to this warm water. And I get it every time. So I do the same. Like I usually start on a hot shower, and every time I'm like, like I don't want to do it, but and then sometimes I'll even turn the shower off and I'll get out of the shower, and then as an afternoon, I'm like, no, or like I'll forget. I was like, no, I have to go back and have a cold shower and do it, because it's just creating small wins, and also with Marco, it's building these things into your morning routine is just gonna create that flow through the day, and getting those small wins in the morning, things like the meditation and having the cold shower, it's just going to flow on into a good day. And
this is fascinating. So it's a matter of association. Like I never thought of it in these terms. You associate shower with a nice, pleasant, cozy, warm environment. So your mind goes just like no. When you put cold in that place and discomfort, but actually, if you do that, like if you flick that switch,
yeah.
Because I do enjoy a cold water. That's why I go on I don't mind going swimming at night or even during the day, like in cold rivers. Like I just like I do like the cold. It's just like I don't like the concept of a cold shower, and I never realized why until now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
No worries. Yeah. Like I realized that one day because people enjoy cold showers at the beach. It's so nice. You're having that cold shower. It's great. And there's no difference, and in fact, the temperature differential, if you're having a shower at the beach, because it's hot outside, and you're having cold water, and your skin is hot from the sun, that's a higher temperature differential than when you're in the shower and you're not exposed to the elements and you're having a cold shower. So it's not the temperature differential that's making it worse. Yeah, it's psychological.
Fascinating. Kio, do you take cold showers?
I
And now you know why.
Yeah, it is interesting, very interesting.
Like, yeah, like I mean, I think about all these crazy things, you know, about, you know, why. I just dig deeper into the why and the why and the why. And you can just learn so much in life and about yourself when you follow that why down, you know, like that. And this is something that I teach my students as well. It's, you know, okay, I'm feeling like this. Why do I feel like that? And then you ask, okay, well, why do I feel like that? And you can just keep going down and really
Deeper
break,
and deeper.
and really break things down.
There are so many levels. What do you think about overthinking? This is something that it's generally looked up, like, I think most people are not into overthinking. They think that could lead to depression, and they just try to avoid it, like being in your mind all the time. But I do that a lot, and I think that helps me think more and appreciate stuff. And I would have never got to, like, I didn't. But, like, I mean, getting to the conclusion that that's the reason why I don't like cold shower. It's something that you achieve if you, like, think a lot about showers, for instance. So there is something good in overthinking. Where's the line? Like, where too much is too much?
Well, thinking in general, like being identified with your mind too much is a big trap within itself.
Yes.
And definitely trying to feel, but I think thinking, this is the way you need to look at it. Your mind is a tool, right? Your brain's a tool to achieve tasks, but it's not you. And people need to see their brains. So when you're just in that cycle of thoughts and you're just...
I'm not sure, sorry for interrupting. I'm not sure if I see my brain as a tool, but I totally agree with my brain is not me. Like, identifying with your brain it creates problems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we should go into that more of, like, of that thing of not seeing your mind as a tool, because, you know, if you can observe your thoughts, you know, then you're not your thoughts, you know, you're not your brain. And that's the risk with overthinking, because you're getting caught up in that state and you're having all these thoughts. And usually if you're attaching overthinking, then clearly there's a negative context to it in some way, which means clearly the thoughts aren't positive. So, and I've just noticed that as I, you know, changed my life and changed from an overthinker myself, is that if you sort of have like this purpose, this overarching goal that you're working towards, there's not really time, and you don't want to spend that time because you have the choice of what you put your mind to, and that's why I see it as a tool now, because it's a choice, and sometimes you'll make the choice of, I'm going to veg out, but just sitting around and mulling over, you know, problems in a unuseful way of just, like, you know, beating yourself up. As someone who did that for years, I just know that there's no value to be had in that. Whereas, so better is to just feel the feeling and accept the feeling and love the feeling, and rather than letting the mind jump on the bandwagon with that feeling and then blow it up to be even worse than it is, because that's kind of what overthinking is. Most of our thoughts, you know, come from a feeling and an emotion. And so if you're caught up in overthinking, it means you're feeling some kind of an emotion, a feeling, and then your brain has latched onto that, and it starts playing around with that. Why am I feeling like this? And it tries to figure it out and do this and run all these different angles, and it gets you nowhere. Whereas instead of that, you just need to just accept the feeling and not distract from it and not justify it. But let's say it was, a feeling of, like, loneliness, right? You know, rather than then, like, getting it, the overthinking mind would want to be like, oh, you know, like I'm such a loser, like I'm never gonna have a girlfriend, and you know, and so, you know, no one likes me, blah blah blah, and just wants to go onto this big cycle. But the other option, you know, is to feel that feeling of loneliness and be like, oh, I'm feeling lonely. And it's like, can I accept that? Well, yeah, you know, I guess I can, you know, and it sort of diffuses the feeling a bit when you can accept that and just realize that, okay, I'm feeling like this, and then there's no need to go off on a tangent with it. You can just accept it, and then in that position of choice, then you just make a choice with what you're going to do with your time from there.
That's interesting. I agree with it. I think it's about accepting what we're experiencing, but also learning from it, because life is all about experiences. And I think there is a lesson in, like, if I feel lonely, that feeling can make me feel miserable. But if I accept what I'm experiencing and I actually step out of myself and analyze it from like a detached point of view, then I go like, okay, this is how I feel, and this is the reaction that this feeling is causing to my body and my brain. What can I learn from this feeling, and how can I better cope with it? And that's where you learn, and you actually start appreciating that, because it that feeling that was negative a moment ago, now it's a step that can lead you to like grow and improve. So it actually becomes like a tool, an asset.
Yep.
So even negative emotions can trigger positive results in this sense.
Definitely. And I just think that then as long as you have that control over it, it's
not easy to achieve.
But as long as you've got that element of control to not let it spiral into, you know, beating yourself up, and you're just kind of searching for, you know, you're just playing around with it and observing and considering, you know, what's going on and trying to learn from it. If there's some sort of like a structure and control to it, then you're not really overthinking, you're just thinking.
Yes.
I think, yeah, when it becomes I consider it overthinking when it spirals into something negative, you know, and that's when it becomes a problem. But I mean, my coaching, you know, structure, the things that I'm teaching my students, is a product of my overthinking in the past.
That's cool.
And
that's a lesson in there already.
Exactly. You know, so there is value to it. And even, you know, if you're stuck, you know, in a dark place somewhere in your life, and you're going through some tough things, and you're struggling with it, and you don't know why, you just keep struggling with it, and you're in pain, you know, mentally, the truth is that it's all going to mean something at the end of the day. And everything that you're struggling with now is going to be the lessons and, you know, the character that's going to create who you are, who you're meant to be in the future. And there's a reason for all of it. And funnily enough, because I really struggled with my mental health for a few years, but it was never to the point of suicidal, because I always had this little inkling in my head that I just knew it had to mean something, because it didn't make sense to me. There was no reason for me to be so upset. I knew it didn't make sense, so a certain part of me said, well, this is going to make sense one day. And now it does, you know. I've found a career where I can channel everything that I learned in that intense overthinking state of my life, and now it means something, and now and my acute self-awareness throughout all of the dark times that I was in, of overthinking everything and analyzing everything, and that combined with absorbing an exorbitant amount of self-improvement material, reading books and podcasts, the combination of the two, of matching up, you know, the things that I was struggling with mentally with all the different solutions, has now like put me in a position where I feel like I could potentially help, you know, almost anyone who was coming to me with problems.
Fantastic.
So
And does sport play a role in your or in everyone's like mental health and like life in general? Like if you want to live a balanced life, what's the role of sport in that? Does it contribute at any level? In your opinion?
do you mean like team sports specifically, or
In
both?
general, like engaging with your body and not just with your mind. How does that affect your mental health?
Well, anything that's going to get you into a flow state is great, because the more you flow in, you know, sport and things like that, the more you're going to be able to flow through your day-to-day activities. And so, yeah, anything that is going to kind of bring you into the zone of some sort of competitive thing is great. And then there's also something called group flow, which is
What's that?
So that's when when you're playing like a team sport, and you're all just completely caught up in this game of you know, I'm a soccer player, you know, and you're all so intensely into the game that you're not thinking about anything else. And particularly, you know, when you start, you know, knowing, you know, where the other person is going to be and that sort of thing, and you're almost kind of syncing up, and then that's a group flow, and that has, you know, all of the benefits, you know, of normal flow, but on top of that, you know, all these different communities, you know, sort of ones, so you're going to feel, you know, connection, and that's great, you know, for people, you know, to have those community like bonding things.
Yeah, I think in general, like being part of a community, either sport or no sport, it's very healthy because it teaches you a lot about like coexisting with people and being part of something bigger than yourself. I don't know about team sports per se, because I've never been into team sports. Like I do a lot of sports, but they're all individual sports. But I really thrive into collective activities, just not sports. All sort of like, group related things. Like I organize events and all of that. And that gives me motivation, inspiration, and it just like a positive feedback. Like even like just mentally, like it just feels great to know to be part of something that is just not just you.
Yeah, that's great.
Do we have any other comments by any chance?
Yes, we do, but it's about snowboarding in Olympics.
Okay, what's that?
We're having chat with Dace about first Olympic medal won. You know, like snowboarding Olympic medal won in '98 was the first Olympics. Like snowboarding became the Olympic sport, and then Australian Thomas Prugger, he won silver medal.
Oh,
in
cool.
'98. Apparently.
Cool. So Australia is big into winter sports. I had no idea.
Yeah, they do well. They do quite well.
They do, yeah.
Can you bring up? I think you need to watch this film. Can you bring up the trailer? I don't know if the trailer is cool. The movie is called Out Cold. I think it's early 2000s. It's really stupid, but I love silly comedies, and I don't know. Like I really loved that movie when I watched it the first time. And yeah, try if you can find the trailer.
Who's in it? I haven't seen this.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the actor. I can't remember anything. I watched it like ages ago. 2001, yes.
Well, it's got snowboarding in it, doesn't it?
It's about snowboarding.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like you know American Pie? Imagine that if it was like snowboarding.
Okay, yeah. Have you
I
watched
cannot hear
American
it.
Pie recently?
No.
I used to love it when I was a kid, but watching it on the rewatch now is very cringe.
Yeah. And I think the same is about this film. If I would watch it now, it would just feel like,
Whoa, That's sick.
I remember I used to like the soundtrack as well.
The best of the best. They know what they want. I know that I'm in love with her. Have you told her this? No. You've got
Well, it looks like they got some pretty cool stunt riders doing some pretty crazy stuff.
Yes. This guy, like the one in the middle, is like the crazy, funny character.
Put it in Rick's car. Make it mine. To push things over the edge. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it was really stupid. It was really stupid. But I mean, I don't think there are many movies about snowboarding anyway. So it's probably. Do you know any movie about snowboarding?
I know a lot of snowboarding movies.
Really?
As in just, I mean,
Like-
snowboarding movies where it's about snowboarding, but normal movies with snowboarding in it.
Yeah.
then No, I don't. That's probably one of the only ones.
Cool. Okay. So thanks a lot for joining me in this chat. It's been really interesting, and I need to thank you very much for the insights about the shower. Like that's gonna change how I'm gonna see showers for the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, no worries. This is great, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. It's been a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm always happy that, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of share what I've been doing as well.
Well, you want to say the name of your channels again, so for people if they want to follow you or ask you for advice?
Yeah, sure. The best place is to contact me on Facebook. So that's just, my username is Boundless Bruce. So if
Beautiful.
or you can just type Bruce Donaldson and hopefully you'll find me.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, and good night to everyone who was listening.
See you later, guys. Oi, oi, oi.